With all this going on in our current world society, not just in the United States, but the world over, Mike, it would seem that people have absolutely lost their minds. Whatever they see as the issue of the day and how it is presenting itself, uh, society seems to think the thing to do is to immediately line up on one side or the other and then to figure out what insults, what barbs, what bombs, what stones to begin to throw at one another. This Foundations for Life, and with that encouraging introduction, I'm Barry Phillips along with Mike Clayton, and we're very thankful for you joining us today. Mike, has the world lost its mind, and is it a strategy of light or darkness to divide the earth?
Okay, well, let me say to the two people that are still tuned in, because the rest of them got depressed there from your entry. To those two people, or maybe just one, is this a strategy of light or is it a strategy of darkness? Well, Barry, could the answer be
yes?
Yes. Now, there's a concept for you, okay, that we look at division and think that all division is from the enemy. You look at scriptures like a house divided against itself shall not stand, and numerous other verses we could bring in. But the truth is that Yeshua said, I have not come to just bring peace on everything. I've come to bring division. And so division is it possible that the division that's brought forth in those that are walking in light is also the opening of division for darkness?
Say that, ask that again.
Okay, so what if the division is beginning in the light? Okay, those that are of the light. So the Almighty is bringing forth division in the earth, division for His purposes, and separating light from darkness, which is actually opening a door for darkness to take further division and separate people. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. Somehow it did in my own mind, but sometimes things make sense in my mind, but nobody else's.
Don't go there, folks. Don't even venture to there.
You don't want to go where I go sometimes. So there is darkness, there is division everywhere. No matter what, it seems like there's not a topic today that you can discuss that doesn't polarize people. And it doesn't matter if it's a topic of scripture, of light, of righteousness, or a topic of whatever over here. It's just this total polarization of everything, of everybody getting in their own little corner. You look at I've seen, and not to bring up one of your favorite topics of football, but I mean, I've seen in Messianic congregations through the years almost knock down, drag out fights on Shabbat about whose team was better. And I'm thinking, how relevant is that concerning eternity? But, we've heard the stories of churches separating, dividing over, should we have plastic or glass communion cups? What color carpet? Should we put cushions on the pews, or get rid of the pews and put in chairs? It's just this kind of a natural, innate tendency within humankind to I've got to be right, and isn't that really the essence of it? Is I have to be right in something.
Yes, Yeah. I have been brokenhearted, stressed. I mean, the adjectives could go on and on. It's seeing the deterioration of our American society. And I know it's just mirroring what's going on in other nations as well.
Yeah.
You know, as far as back as I can remember, there's always been divides.
Sure.
We are we were less racially divided than in my youth. In my youth, it was a bit more stressful.
Yeah.
But I was raised in a family that it didn't matter what color someone's skin was or what race they were. You loved them, and you had relationships with them. You didn't cast anybody aside or ignore anyone because of who they were. And I'm thankful for that training. But um, being a child of the '60s and early '70s, I remember those stresses.
Yeah.
It seemed like it got better. Now it's being exploited and made worse again, unfortunately. The political divide has always been there, but it wasn't heated. I mean, it wasn't. I'm going to beat you into the ground because of your perspective.
Yeah.
Now we have one side saying to the other, "We're going to hunt you down,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to make you pay because of your perspective." That's threatening. I don't want my grandkids growing up in that, but we see these things and we think, well, it's just the secular world. But Mike, you and I have been crying out for years about the needed healing in the Hebrew roots community, that we stop dividing ourselves and castigating others who feel like that, that they see things differently than we do. We've been crying out for a cessation of that division and that combative spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Could it not be that the reason that our society is divided and combative and even violent against each other is because the spiritual community in this nation, at least, has been that way previously? We've allowed the spirit realm to become one of a contest, competition, combat situation. And now that spiritual situation is being manifested in the physical realm.
And I guess that's kind of what I was trying to say in my light and darkness thing. You expounded on that a little bit better than what that was what was in my brain, and you just had to make sense, I think.
Well, then I'm afraid that I went there.
You've gone where most people don't want to go. Yeah. So you look today. Let's go to social media. I follow some social media, very, very little. I don't tend to follow much as far as the Messianic Hebrew roots groups that are on social media, because I find it very upsetting. I find some secular kind of sites that I have regarding interests that I have are much more uniting. But once in a while, a post will slip in from somewhere along the way, and there are people that are becoming very famous. At least I see it. Maybe people don't look at this. I do. They don't look for this. I do. When I see someone posting something that's doctrinal or some kind of a theological statement or something like that, I normally ask myself, is this person asking this to stir the pot? Do they know?
Yeah.
They know that when you hit that post button, this is going to stir something. This is going to provide controversy, and all of a sudden, every comment that's underneath it is choosing sides, choosing sides, choosing sides. The person that is guilty of the division is the person that posted it in the first place. You want something that is there's no profit in it at all. Ask a question on Facebook. Hey, what about the pre-trib, post-trib, mid-trib? Where's that conversation going?
No, we're
It's
good.
not going to unity, I know that. It's going to be something that is of division from the beginning. There's nobody's going to change their mind along the way. Those are things that, there's so much. It's so easy now, Barry, to pull together two or three, a group of people, and let's put a camera in front of us and hit a record button, and let's just go ahead and air our dirty laundry out there for all to see. I know people, and you do too, that it's like you're not wanting to. Somebody asked me today, well, they found out I was in ministry. Well, what denomination? Well, I'm not. So, well, what do you and the last thing I want to say, well, it's like Hebrew roots or Messianic, because I've said that and had people come to me later and say, I Googled that word. Wow. That's a cult. And it just goes crazy. You don't air your dirty laundry for all to see. There are communications are happening today that should have been done within the confines of a room without a camera, and then come to some agreements, and then put something that is profitable to the body online. Maybe I'm crazy.
Well, Rav Shaul wrote in 2 Corinthians 6, and beginning in verse 14, he says this.
Oh, you guys, we're in trouble. Barry's put his glasses on.
Do not become unevenly yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership have righteousness and lawlessness, and what fellowship has light with darkness? And what agreement has Messiah with Belial? And what part does a believer have with an unbeliever? What union has the dwelling place of Elohim with idols? For you are a dwelling place of the living Elohim. As Elohim has said, I shall dwell in them and walk among them, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Therefore, come out from among them and be separate, says Yahweh. Do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you. And I shall be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says Yahweh the Almighty. And I need to clean my glasses. There is a call for separation, but it's a call that we separate from sin and from the realm of darkness and the realm of idolatry. It doesn't say that we should reject people because of how they see things. It's an amazing thing to watch throughout history how that adversaries became allies when a common adversary attacked both of them.
Mm-hmm.
The American War of the Northern Invasion, also known as the Civil War. During that conflict, as bloody, heated, and emotional as it was, if some foreign country or even some foreign alliance from, say, Europe or, somewhere had invaded our country and were attacking both sides of that conflict, it may have been that we would have ceased fighting each other and joined forces to fight against a common adversary. We have to understand that if we're seeking to walk in light, we're not permitted to hate our brother. Matter of fact, 1 John says, if we claim to be in the light and we hate our brother, we are liars and we're still in darkness. That's in First Yochanan chapter 2. You do not have the privilege or the opportunity to righteously hate those who are your brothers, even if they have a doctrine that you disagree with, a Shabbat practice that you don't agree with, a calendar that is different than your own. It doesn't matter. We need to start leaving people alone. The realization is that if our true adversary, the realm of darkness, personified in Hasatan, as long as the wedges and the dividers can be placed among us, we defeat ourselves. He has no effort to exert beyond that. So our nations are as they are as a reflection of what situation the body of Messiah is in. If we will separate from darkness and walk in light, healing can come. The reason we're divided is that we're still hanging on to some darkness somewhere. You know, a spirit of competition, one-upsmanship, the area of pride. Our beliefs are better than your beliefs. Our ways and practices are superior to yours. You're not righteous unless you walk like me. All of those mindsets, Rav Shul then wrote in 1 Corinthians 10, if I'm not mistaken, it's 10, that, is it 2 Corinthians? No, it's 2 Corinthians. Nehemiah Corinthians. Yes. Hallelujah. I got it here. Overthrowing reasonings and every high matter that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim, taking captive every thought to make it obedient to the Messiah. Those kinds of thoughts, Mike, we need to recognize that they're not scriptural. They're not based in the Torah. They're not based on Messiah, Yeshua. They're based on darkness, and we need to immediately seize them and cast them down. Otherwise, they will become a stronghold of thinking inside of our mind that will color everything that we consider in our worldview, our scriptural perspective. And we got some work to do, but it can be done. We do not have to walk as we have walked. Could it not be that if the body of Messiah would find restoration and reconciliation and healing, then it can also come to our nations? But it won't happen until then.
Well, that which happens in the spiritual it flows into the natural. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So the problem is not the world. The problem is, the problem is not darkness. If you can't see, the problem is not darkness. The problem is a lack of light. And so those that are supposed to be walking in the light, if they're walking, as the scripture says, in darkness, then you can't provide light if you're not walking in light. That's just an obvious thing, of course. So I have a twist here for you. Question. And Barry gets scared at this one. How much of the separation and division in, let's just say, religion, okay, whether it be Christianity, Messianic circles, Hebrew roots, I don't know as much about Judaism in this, but we could probably put some things there. But let's I guess pull it into us. How much of the division that is in Hebrew roots, Messianic circles, is because of people who are still walking in previous pain and hurt?
I would say the majority of that.
So the division is about their own hurts, is about their own problems. It is said that a broken father will raise broken children.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because that which they have. If a father or mother does not find healing in them in their own selves for things that happen in their own lives, they're going to just push that into another generation. So you have competition. Why? Because of lack of self-worth. You have jealousy. Why? Because of a wrong self-image. An inability. Jealousy is an inability to celebrate someone else's blessing because you feel that somehow life has cheated you out of something.
That's good what you just said there, Mike.
So if someone is walking in a blessing and I cannot celebrate that blessing with them, then the problem is not them. The problem is me. And that will fester into various things. Then it breaks down. It starts to break down. And I can tell when someone is lashing out in some kind of their own hurt, their own problems of life, their own inability to find healing, because they normally will kind of stay in the shadows. And this is where social media has fed this thing, that you can post anything you want on social media and then run from the communication that could seek to heal the reason you posted something. If you've ever, I mean, I do this occasionally. Someone will post something and I don't get in the mix. I try not to get in the mix on stuff because I know that it's just, I mean, it's shoveling your own grave. It is taking a shovel out there and digging your own grave. It's not going to get anywhere else. But sometimes, occasionally, what I'll do is I'll message somebody and say, I saw your post and I'd really like to talk to you about this. Why don't we spend some time on the phone? Crickets. They don't even respond to that. Why? Because they're really not wanting to get past the healing. They're or past the pain. The things that happen to them in life have now become their identity. It's the puppy in the pound. It's the abused wife, the abused child. That becomes their identity. And once your hurts in life become your identity in life, you can't get past it. You have to come back and say, I refuse to be identified by what happened to me.
Mike, as you're describing that, I'm thinking of your cousin, Melanie.
Yeah.
She went through a horrific season of life. Her testimony, if any of our viewers have not read it or seen it, and she's got a book out, it's well worth the investment of your time to read or to listen to her testimony. But she took an extreme negative and has used it as a foundation to turn not only her life around and find joy and healing and overcoming and finding an extreme love for her Heavenly Father, her Papa, her Daddy God, as she called. And some may be offended by that, but when you know where she came from and what she went through and where she is now, you find it's not offensive, it's inspiring.
Well, you dealt with that. I mean, when you first met Melanie, it was like, what, I don't understand that. And then you got to know where she came from.
And it made complete sense to me.
Yeah.
She is a beautiful, beautiful lady and person. And she has every excuse to be a fractured, broken person who breaks other people.
Yeah.
And that's the last, I mean, she's so far from that identity. It's amazing. But she is offering healing to others. She's encouraging others to be healed. We can take our negatives, whatever they are, and camp out there and raise our broken flag and look for, I don't want to say this wrongly, look for an emotional, compassionate response. And that's part of healing at some point. But if that's all we're ever looking for, sometimes we can get stuck. We need to find out where the healing is and go for it. Easy said. Look, every one of us have had some episodes in life that were heart-wrenching and heartbreaking, and I've had my versions, you've had yours, we all have.
Yeah.
But you can't live there. Some people don't know that, though, Mike. They need someone to get involved in their life to a level that they realize, I don't have to be here. That's all that they've ever known, to try to teach them a different way of living. You're not going to do it in a single teaching or a single prayer. It's going to take commitment to walk with someone and bring them out. And so I'm coming to this point. It could be that the reason that we see the fractured body of Messiah as it is currently in some places evident, it is because of a failure of discipleship, where people are systematically in an ongoing basis taught and brought along. We want to see someone pray a prayer and make a faith confession and study the Torah and keep Shabbat and assume that everything is fixed. And as wonderful as those things are, as helpful as they are, we also need to see someone who is willing to be called alongside to help. Well, that's the work of the Ruach HaKodesh. Yes, it is. But the Ruach HaKodesh uses human agency. There has to be a commitment on somebody's part as an act of love and compassion. A man looking at a struggling younger man or fellow man and saying, I'll study with you. I'll make consistent phone calls to you. I want to sit down, as you just said a little while ago. Let's talk about this on the phone. Let's, come over for Shabbat and let's talk. Checking on them, asking questions, being a hearing ear, praying with them, teaching somebody how to pray. I can't tell you the value as a child of being in an environment where I was able to listen to men pray.
Yeah.
It changed my life. It kept me out of a path that could have been completely destructive, because I can still hear the echoes of men praying in my mind.
Yeah.
So discipleship, if we're going to heal the body, if we're going to stop being separated, discipleship may be one of the key answers for us.
Okay. Let's go to, it may not be the lack of not having people that want to disciple others, but some of it may be those that don't want to be discipled. Okay, let's back up a few statements here. You mentioned something about people not wanting to deal with their healing. The reason that a person doesn't want to deal with their healing is that they don't want to visit their pain.
Understandably.
Okay, now this is not the thing of, let's do the childhood memories and close your eyes and hocus pocus, imagine yourself, and I'm not really making fun of that. It's not something that I personally agree with. Others can, it's not a place of division, okay? But you do have to be willing to acknowledge and to accept and to work through. If you go to the doctor and you're not willing to you're not willing to admit where you're hurting, it's very difficult for them to figure out what's wrong.
True.
Unless it's something, you walk in and your arm is kind of, like flopping around, you can tell, yeah, you broke your arm. No, I didn't. Yeah, you broke your arm. No, I didn't break my arm. It's fine. Well, look at the bone sticking out. No, it's fine. It's okay. I've learned to deal with the pain. Really, I've learned to deal. No, you haven't, and you're not useful. Your arm is not useful until you deal with the problem. And herein lies maybe some of the things that people need to figure out is you got to go back and deal with the problem that's causing the pain, because that's the only way to really bring forth healing. And that's the way to keep from hurting other people, because the pain that you're feeling, you're probably portraying that into other people. Parents do this to children all the time. A parent and I applaud those that have dealt with it and figured it out and have walked through it. But a parent that's been betrayed by a spouse will normally kind of push that lack of trust onto their children. And again, I see parents, that it's obvious they've dealt with this, they've figured it out, and they're not. That's an amazing thing, but that's not the norm. It's not the norm.
Right.
The way what has happened to us, until you get healing for that, you'll do to somebody else. That's why a church split. Go back to to our days in denominational Christianity. A church split will lead to another church split.
Oftentimes, yes.
The reason is because the problem that led to the first split was never dealt with. It may be that there needed to be not a split, but a multiplication. But because of all the junk, people didn't see that. I can go back to a church that we were a part of, and it was evident that we were supposed to be moving on to somewhere else. And I held on, and we actually went to the pastor and said, this is what's going on. And, we've got some things, and I'm going to leave quietly, and, we're not going to make any kind of singing here, but it's just that the Father's moving us on. And it was good. In the end, it was good. The next time that happened, I didn't handle it the same way. I outstayed my welcome. When the Father's moving you on and you refuse to go, it's going to cause problems somewhere along the way. And you're going to hurt other people. Again, dealing with the issues. Instead of, if I can just post something about my issue online, then it'll help me feel better. I try to be very careful about what I post. I want it to be edifying. I want it to be, at times, yes, you can, I'm not saying everything has to be, a little fluffy marshmallow stuff. You can post something that's controversial. That's fine. But make sure that you read it and say, now, what am I looking for the outcome of this? Is it going to be more division? Or are people going to say, that's a thought I need to think about for myself, and maybe an opportunity for their own growth?
Well, first of all, I don't know that there is a marshmallow ability in Mike Clayton. Mike Clayton and marshmallow are two extreme polar opposites. Let's finish with this, Mike. We've discussed our problem. We've discussed our problem as people having problems, and we've encouraged the idea that people who have problems, we need to find healing and restoration. So since we are looking then to the overall problem of the fractured body of Messiah and all of its manifestations, we've discussed discipleship as a potential for a healing balm, not BALM, not bomb. We're not trying to blow something up. My Grassy Creek comes out every now and again.
Yes.
What else do you see as constructive steps in healing and restoration? And I'll throw this in. I just had a conversation with Hanok Young this morning that was really helpful to me. Thank you, Hanok, so much. But he mentioned that from our backgrounds, what we typically see in the arena of redemption, restoration, is for the individual. I'm born again, and now I'm looking for my loved ones to become born again like me mindset. Whereas the Jewish mind is more about national redemption. What can I do to bring about the national, the collective community redemption? That's more where we need to focus at this moment, at least from what our discussion is. What is it that you see could be a part of the national overall healing of this body that we're a part of? I'm throwing you under the bus a little bit there, and I apologize.
Okay, I got it. I've had the same conversations with not just Hanok, but many others. Okay. I do, again, here's this thing of separation, either or. I think that anytime we end up separating into this, got to be this or that we're going to miss a bigger picture. The idea that we don't need individual redemption is not going to lead to community redemption. The idea that my individual redemption is more important than, these two concepts they have a difficult time in my mind because I see them intertwined so much that they are actually one.
Yes, I agree.
So that the individual redemption is the avenue to the community redemption, which is the strength of the individual redemption.
How many times have we prayed to say, Messiah, I want to be like you. I want to walk like you want to be. Well, he is a redeemer. Therefore, we should be considering the fact we are redeemed to be a redeemer. Mm-hmm. I can't be a redeemer at the level that Yeshua is, but I can participate in the redemption as a redeemer. I can find things broken, people hurting, and be a part of their redeeming of their lives. So I think it comes down to find somebody that you can show compassion to. Show somebody that though you disagree with them, you can still go to lunch with them.
Yeah.
Find someone that is an online troll of sorts that likes to throw bombs out there and watch people explode.
And that was bombs, not bombs.
Yes. So I can't fix the world, but I can find the part that the Father would reveal to me and be involved in that to some degree, and ask for his ability and enabling to do so.
Maybe it comes down to this, Barry. Don't try to fix somebody else if you haven't fixed yourself.
And if you're broken, don't refuse someone's help.
Exactly. If I mean, it's a formula, and that's where the whole community individual thing comes out to me. Hey, let me do a quick commercial, and that is that if you're anywhere close to or semi-close to or even far from, but want a great blessing in your life, the great city of Columbia, South Carolina, which took me years to just want to go there again after spending basic training at Fort Jackson, but that's another story. This Thursday night, pouring, you have the opportunity to go to Gates to Zion with my dear friends, your friends, Craig and Jan Odell, Josh and Sherry and Dottie, and all kinds of great folks that attend that congregation.
Awesome.
And the outgrowth of that will be, you will be able to hear live in person Barry Phillips. So if you're anywhere close to that, it's worth the trip.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I was thinking this morning, the video that we are doing is on Remnant of Israel. I appreciate people tuning into that YouTube channel, watching 10-minute tour and so forth. But don't forget, jointohashem.org, where you can find Mike's teachings as well. And Mike, I was, earlier this morning, I was thinking, I need to remind folks that Mike's got a lot of online content that needs to be looked at. And so I encourage folks to do that as well.
Appreciate it.
Torah commentaries, weekly updates from Israel with Hanok Young, and that is taking a fascinating turn and going down an incredible road at the moment. You really want to watch that, as well as other things that he posts. So,
yeah, we're going to be talking this week. He doesn't know it yet. We're going to be talking about Esther, and I'm going to be talking to him about. I got to warn him on this one that Esther is the only book that the name of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is not mentioned in, or is it?
There you go.
There you go. All right, Barry, drive safe. We will, and hey, I'll see you on Friday, God willing.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Shabbat Shalom. I started to say, yes, you said Friday. My mind thinks Shabbat Shalom. Shalom, everyone. Thank you for watching. Your comments and your suggestions for the prescription for healing of the body Messiah are most welcome. We look forward to reading those. Until next week, Shalom.
Shalom.